Okay, Josh, you got me out the house.
I'm so excited. That is the best part to me. Like when I was seeing your episodes, I was like, I really want to do it in the studio because I think your production deserves the lights, the cameras, the pomp and circumstance. Like I'm glad that I have it and I can use it for this.
I'm so thankful. You got me out of the house. You got me off my little podcast virtual. Me and you. Josh, you are one of my absolute favorite personality individual students that I've come across. You're absolutely one of them because you bring so much. I mean, over the course of me knowing you from 14
I was about to say,
till now,
yeah.
We're not going to disclose your age, right?
I was about to say, I mean, we can, but it's over 10 years.
It's been over 10 years, and to watch you grow has been phenomenal. So first, I want to start off, tell me some good news.
Ooh, good news. We are in the studio that I got with not only another friend, but the third partner was someone who I met in the program at the museum. And a lot of the work that I do is with people from the museum in this creative realm. So that's some good news. Like there are still people who are working together from that program right now who we are helping each other like foster our creativity and move forward. And on top of that, we were able to get a studio. Like this is crazy in my opinion, because I don't even know if we really gotten to like say it. Because on my show, it's like, I kind of just like, okay, we got a new space, but nobody's going to say anything. We got to keep doing the episodes.
No,
but
I got to talk about that.
I was about to say to talk about it with you though, because you know, when I was like driving in from DeKalb after doing podcasts in my apartment and like going to work and like, it was literally like, it was nowhere near the level of what I can do right now. And it's insane to have gotten here.
Yes. That's what I say. You're kind of like the jack of all trades. Don't know where your mind goes, but it always goes to the right place.
It's like, let's try something no one's doing right now.
That's it. I'm loving the studio. I'm so excited. I will be frequenting here quite often when I can, when I'm out of the whole virtual realm.
I was about to say, maybe we can even think of something for that. It's one of those things where like the space is versatile and we want to use it to just help people. Like anyone who has an idea, especially if I know you, like if you have an idea, I have a space now. Like that's crazy to me to say.
Yes.
I was always looking for that. Whenever I would have my crazy ideas, I'm like, I don't have a space to do it in now.
And now we're here in your studio. Yeah. And we are talking about you, which you don't like to do.
I'm not the biggest fan. Not the biggest fan of talking about me.
In a nutshell, tell me who you are. Like, just tell me who you are.
In a nutshell, I am a audio engineer, podcaster who has an absurd want to help people who can do the creative stuff I can't do succeed further than I ever thought they could. So like, for example, like I manage a singer, I manage a rapper. I can't rap or sing. So I love the fact that I can help a rapper and a singer get further than where they could go because I may have like that small bit of business acumen, or I may have the connections that can get you on a stage here or put your song placed there. Like I don't have music to do that with. So I want to do it with other people. And I mean, it extended further when it came to the cameras and when it came to the production. So I don't know. It's like, I guess I'm a guy who can do a whole bunch of random stuff, but at the core of it, I just want to help people make cooler stuff.
Yeah. You know, Josh, that is what I like about you. I think that's what I see in you from me is that we are so passionate, hands down. We don't care how everybody else takes it.
I've been working on that.
No, you're good because you're passionate about the right things, and
that's the thing too. Is definitely figuring out where to point the arrow you're shooting, because it's like once it goes, I'm tunnel vision. Like we said, studio. We're in a studio now. It was one of those things. This was a random one-off text message that led to this. So it's like I definitely try to make sure I'm pointed in the right direction.
And I'm so happy about that because as I saw you develop as a student, I was just like, Josh is passionate about music. Josh is passionate about being his own person, having freedom. Josh is passionate about helping others. And that's a really big thing. Yeah. It is even so big that you you went off to school and got a degree in nonprofit.
Changed my entire major just to help people because I realized what I was doing was not doing that. And I mean, it's crazy. I mean, like if we're diving into like stories of like how things went, like I was like freshman year of college, I was computer science major. And I hated every second of it.
Did not know that.
Hated every second of it, but I hated it because I did not see like what was I supposed to do with it, if that makes sense. Like I'm bad at 5-year plans or 4-year plans or looking in the future. I'm bad at those, and I've accepted it. I'm okay with it. You got to move intentional in your present. Like, but when I went into college, I was like, okay, let me fabricate a plan. And in my brain, it was computer science. 4 years, here's my life plan. I'm going to be out at this time.
Yep.
I went through that first year and was like, I cannot do 3 more years of this. And they told me, they were like, look, if you change your major right now after this first full year of college, you will have at least an extra semester. And I was so lost in the sense of like, what am I going to do? Am I going to change the major? I was undecided for a second. And I went back and I emailed Marvin and I was like, hey, like, I remember working at the program and just like feeling such an innate sense of like life is going right, or at least like I'm in the right place when I was working at the museum. And I was like, can I volunteer in any way to come back and work here? And he was like, I'll do you one better. Like you could become like an actual person who's paid and work here. And I was like, that was so beautiful and so amazing. I think after my first module, I changed my major right there. I was like, how do I work in nonprofits? And my emphasis was in youth program planning. So it was like, I immediately changed it because I was like, this is the work that fulfills me. Like if I'm going to do anything that's not music, it's going to be this. Like there's no in between. So that really like just kind of like the program itself framed how I even was going about my degree. Like my degree was switched to like, how can I help people? And I mean, it was also a little bit easier because computer science is a lot of math, a lot of late nights. I read a lot of papers about how to care about people with money. Like, my college experience was several 10-page papers of how can we help the community. Like,
wow, Josh, that's insane. Okay, wait a minute. Take me there. Okay. So as you're going through this, because as a teenager, sometimes you're like, you know what? We all go through that, right?
But a teenager, you kept coming oh my back. God. Yes, and that's a definite shout out to my mother because I was not the easiest student of the program because I always wanted to not be there because I'm in high school. I wanted to be around my friends. I wanted to be around this, but I also appreciated the people in the program. So like I'm starting to make friends here after I'm like so adamant about not coming. And it's like, oh, I'm actually like having fun on Saturdays, but like, do I show it? And you get to this like point where you're just like, I think it was probably my senior year where my mom was like, do you want to keep doing the museum? And I was like, yes, I want to keep doing it. But then it was at like the cost of me doing track and field.
Yeah.
So it was like, you have to make a decision now.
Okay.
And I was about to make the decision to go with track. And my mom was like, you could make that, but which one do you think you like more?
Yeah.
And when I had to like reframe it in that way, I was like, I don't do sports. Like I'm not a sports person. I think I'm just doing this because like I guess I'm good at it. Like so it was like immediate, like that was my dive. That was like I think it was probably like 17 going on 18 at that time period. And that was when I just like accepted the fact that no, I love it here. Like this is a great place. This is an escape. It's like how cool is it to just like have a museum ID and be a kid? Like it's you know things you take for granted in those moments. But like I don't know, and that made it so much better when I came back because when I came back, I felt myself interacting mainly with those people who were like me, where it was like, you don't want to be here? I know you don't want to be here, but I can show you how this doesn't suck. And my whole goal was just be like, this does not suck. And let me show you how you should be cherishing this. Like I almost treated my good old days like not the good old days. So don't do that for yours was my biggest thing when I was working there.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because you kept coming back. There's a period, and I hear some teachers talk about this where they're dealing with students that they're not getting with the program. They're not getting with their program. But when you were part of this, you and me as an educator, you as a student, there was a portion of that time where you were with some students that were they were left. Everything was left.
It was like I know, which is just so interesting because I do look back at the time periods of that where I'm like, I don't know why I did not agree with you all because honestly, I probably wanted to, but like, I don't know. It's like, and that's probably once again, back to my mother who just the instilling in me of different things. Like when it comes to just the the work you do and the work effort, the work ethic that you put forward. Like that was a big thing. So I think that's what even inhibited me from like, if everybody in the program is like, we know like Miss Anita just said this, but we want to do this. It's like, I have a very hard time of going like, well, we're going to do something. I was just like, no, let's do the job. Like, it's like, do that part so no one's mad. Like there's a reason we're here. So I don't know. And it comes across like a goody two shoes thing, but I don't think I had that about me either. So it was like, I don't know. That's just, things had to get done, and it was, once you look at it, it was so cool. Like we taught science to kids who were passing through in the museum on Saturdays and received like credit for it in whatever way our schools would accept it. My school accepted the community service, the service learning hours, like all these different things, and I'm like, those were valuable. And when I got to college, it was a college like credit for me to be working at the museum at that point. So it was just like, whoa, this is like, how are we not noticing the benefits?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you hit key, like it goes back to the parenting, right? It comes back to your moral compass that as a teenager, you can make good decisions in the midst of everybody else wanting to be chaotic.
Yes. And it's like, you don't even know. It's like, it's easier than you think, but it's also something where you look at it and you're like, oh, that's wild. Like, why did I not do what you all were doing? I wanted to do that. Why didn't I? It's like, oh, because I felt like my mother was yelling in my head the whole time. Like,
absolutely. So I want parents to know that they should not give up and continue to put that forward. I mean, because sometimes parents get to this thing where their children are teenagers and they're like, they're not listening to me. But they're listening.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was definitely a I'm listening, but I'm not listening type kid. Because like, as we talked about, even like before we started recording, I'm super big on like, I'm going to do it. If it does not harm you, if it does not affect you, I'm going to do it. And I've been that with my parents for years, and I know it was strife over the high school years, because it's like, I had an understanding of like, this is not going to hurt anybody if I go do it. And you shouldn't care, but you care because you're my parent. So I'm going to do it anyway, and we're gonna settle up later. And that like, I've learned how to do it right now, but there was a time period where it was like I was doing it wrong. I mean, if we think back to just like the time periods of me working in the summers at the museum, where it was like I would complain daily because I was also a caddy, and anyone who knows anything about caddying, it's cash in hand. It's very hard to tell a 15-year-old.
You were like, I'm losing $500 today.
I was calculating losses while I was at the museum every day of like how much money I could have made at the country club caddying, and then what time I would have been finished versus how much money I'm making here and what time we're going to be done. And I was doing it daily. I was like, this is just causing you. Like, no one else cares. You're the only one who this is causing a problem for, man. You got to stop doing this, and you got to lean into it. So just like, lean in. Yeah. And I mean, like, it's so grateful because when I think back to it, it's like caddying did not come back for me. It didn't loop back to be something that actually helped me to figure out my major, helped me to figure out direction in my life. Like, let me figure out that like I could do more as a person with helping people. Caddying didn't help me find any of that out. Whereas the museum, all of that was credit to the educators that I had, the people who were my mentors in that program, where it's just like, you all were so patient in helping us to find what we wanted to do and what we wanted to be. Yeah. Whereas caddying wasn't about that. They wanted service work, and that's why they paid you. So you shut up and did the service. And I didn't notice that like, you can't put the value on the youth development. You can't put the value on learning these small things that have gotten me through countless job interviews or countless meetings that were very important in life. Or there's so many things that were in that program where I'm just like, people don't get it. Like, I'm like, on a Saturday, not only did you go teach science, you also were taught how to go through your college applications. Or if you had a question about how a scholarship worked, somebody was gonna find somebody who could help you. It wasn't, because it was like there was never a no. It was a let me find the resource. And that was like, to get that on a 1 day a week program is crazy.
1 day.
That's crazy. Like I really wish people understood that, and maybe I understand it more because I was doing so much research on them for my major. It was like, this program is unique. Like, other people want to replicate this because of that. So it was just so beautiful.
You know, you also said something. You said, I was not a good teenager, but you were, though.
I'm glad. Let me tell you why. That way.
Let me tell you why. You might have thought it was disgruntled, but we were in a space that was not formal education. Maybe in formal education, you expressing your grievances would have been a problem because you're going against the grain. But to me, you know, I did teach in formal education, and that tend not to bother me either, especially if you had valid points, and I would want to hear those points out. Like let's talk about that. But you were a leader. although
worse.
yes,
For better or worse.
yes. So it's though although you feel this way, you still did what needed to be done.
Mhm.
And it was okay because that's a part of you. You're going to do some things that you don't like to do, but in the grand scheme of things, you're doing what you like to do. The majority of the things you love to do.
Mhm.
And so you're saying that you were.
I mean, because
but-
I know what was happening in my mental. That's why I'm just like, I don't know how great I was of someone to
were
work with. But as you
good.
say, like the out of school time program, the non-formal education, like I think that's what made it even cooler when I came back as an intern, because I was thinking of people like, for me, it was like Jimmy, and like huge shout out to Jimmy,
Yes.
where it was like
we
someone.
got to get Jimmy in the studio.
Yes. Oh my God. I have to find a way to just like,
I'm
we
gonna be
go get
contacting
lunch
him
every now
soon.
and again, and it's
Really?
great. Yeah, me, him, Oge, Jessely, like we always make sure to like go get
Where
like
is
a meal.
he?
He's still in the city, I think, but he does like some cybersecurity. He does important stuff.
You do too.
Jimmy does important stuff. I was like, me, I'm here.
Well, we're gonna get him. I'm gonna call
Have to,
him.
because when I was seeing him and how he bridged the gap of what you all were saying and how we were feeling, I was like, oh, that's my lane. Like that's my lane all day. And then once I got in the program and there were so many teens that I got to interact with and be like, oh, I know you hate it. And I get to tell you that it's okay to hate it. It's okay, because you're still gonna get something out of it, even if you don't like any moment of it. Like,
That's it.
and then like they just start to notice that over time, because I got to deal with like the in-betweeners who were like that first group coming over, and that's. I had them for, I want to say, like, I don't know, like 2 years of college. Like that was just my main program. That was me being like, okay, you're going from this program with just like 13, 14-year-olds, and now you have to be dropped in with everybody from like that age to 18, and you need to be ready for this ain't that. Like
This ain't that, and that ain't this.
Exactly. It's like, look, I get it. Y'all used to come here for your little 2-hour session. Y'all got to chill, but this is gonna be a full day now. Like now it's like you have more responsibility, but we're also gonna feed more into that. So it's like that was my favorite part of the program. And then once I got pulled up to, work with the achievers after that level, I was like, oh, I know all of y'all. Like y'all, you can't fake none of the funk with me. Y'all all came through me first before you got here. So it was like I loved the aspect of just like, okay, I like we've built a bond. So now I know how to approach you. I know how to talk to you. And then that's helping me in my life when I was the countless amount of conversations where I had with a teen at the museum, and then like got in my car afterwards and went, I think I needed to hear that. Like, craziness.
I know. I had to do pep talks every now and then.
Yes, but they were needed. They were so needed. Let me tell you, the museum pep talks have got me to where I am now. The after hours, like, okay, hold on, I'm gonna go home, but like first, let me just tell you about what's happening in my day right now.
Yes. Let's talk about after hours, because I think that is a part where we truly got to know each other even more, and we sat down and talked with everybody else.
And I was about to say, it was such a beautiful thing, because it was like you never knew who was going to stay there. Like it was like after the program would finish, like it would just be like this moment where like, okay, cool, we're just chilling by your desk, and then a few people would join, and a few more people would join, and then you'd realize, like, because these would be like the life conversations. This is no longer talking about science. It's just like, hey, like this is what I'm going through in college right now, or like, hey, this is like some stuff that's happening. Like, is this crazy? How was it happening back in the day, or things like this, or like, can you give me any frame of reference? And then like other people just ear hustling on that conversation was helpful for them. And then like it's like you can't. Once again, this is why it's like you can't put a value on it. You can't put like a name of what was happening there. It's so unique, because it's just like we really like sit there and it would be like, yo, this is like really helping me, and this is like a conversation I needed to have, or like a perspective that I didn't have. Because I mean, like everybody who knows me knows that college was a fight every day. For me to go back to that school was
when you
was
on
a
Saturday you would be like,
because I mean, like I wanted to. The program was so awesome because I got to drive back into the city every week too. I hate corn. You cannot pay me to go back and sit in DeKalb for any amount of money, because it was so dry. I'm looking around at corn all day. I'm going to classes. What am I doing? I tried to transfer to every school in Chicago, and they just kept saying that it was going to take longer. And I'm like, I'm not giving you all more money. So that's the reason why I ended up finishing my degree. But it was pulling teeth for me all the time. So I feel like those conversations of after hours with me, sitting with like you and Mr. Brass, I would just be like, yo, like, thank you all for giving me the insight to be like, okay, I see the purpose. Maybe I should just stick it in here longer. Like, I mean, I've been here for 3 years already, finish it out. Yep. Like those things are just like small things you need to hear that you almost don't want to hear, where it's like, you've done this much. Like, what are you What are you tripping for at this point?
Push through. Shelby says
And those
push through.
Those are so needed because it's like college is it was a beast. Like I sometimes look back and go, how did I get through? And then people who pursue higher education, more power to you. Like, oh my God, it's so amazing because if you asked me to do any type of homework right now, it would be combatants everywhere. I can't do it.
Totally get that. You put in your time and you're like, I'm over it.
And that's what I'm saying. And I mean, like, it was for real. For me, it was that, like, one more day, you got it. Or like just hearing you all say like, oh, it's all good, you'll make it next week. Like those things were like, yep, I just needed that. I just needed that to make it to the next one. And then I'm back here next Saturday, need another quick one. Just like, you'll get through.
Yes, every week you kind of reassured yourself, and I would see it. We would have our pep talk, and then you would say, okay, I got it. I'm getting ready to go.
It's like, okay, I think I can.
You know what's so interesting about that? It's not required to stay after,
not at
right?
all.
And it's not required from student or educator, but because we knew, like, we need this. When I started seeing extra chairs come out,
like people were just pulling up chairs. It was like, oh no, we need to hold court.
We need to hold court.
It's like everybody in here has a concern or question. You know, it's one of those things. And I mean, like, I appreciate that from the standpoint of you all as the educators, like doing that for us, because that was beyond the call of duty.
But with that, I saw you take that passion. You know, because sometimes you just need a push and a reboot, and everybody needs that.
Everyone.
You did the reboot, and you was like, okay, I got it. And we knew you had it, Josh. Like, I knew you had it.
I'm so glad somebody knew I had it, because let me tell you, until I got the diploma mailed to me, because I was a 2020 graduation, until the diploma got mailed to me, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe a bit of it. I kept thinking, I'm back here in another semester. Y'all ain't gonna let me go. I know I didn't pass. You know, like that was my brain thought the entire time, because I think I was beating myself down the whole time. Like I didn't graduate with bad grades either, which is crazy. No. But like in my brain, it was like I was scraping by. Like I was struggling daily. If you would have asked me,
exaggerate, but that's you.
That's what I'm saying. But like it's like in my eyes, it was a struggle every day. But apparently, you know, it's like, oh no, it worked out. You're good. Like you're fine. You made it. Here's your diploma, and here's the amount of loans you owe back. Like it happened. Like
those loans.
Immediately. Shout out to the pandemic though, because I did graduate during the time where they put my loans on hold for 3 years straight.
That is.
It was beautiful.
I bet you didn't care about crossing the stage.
No, I did not. I never went back to cross it. My mother wanted me to, and I told her, I was like, this is the one where we are going to have a difference. I did it. My mother has my diploma. I've never had it. So fun fact. Back to my mom, she's the reason, once again, like I love her to death because I needed the degree for some of the things that I've done in life so far. So I do not see it as a negative, whereas some people it's like, yeah, maybe you didn't need it in life. I needed it for some things that I needed to do. So I understood why I got it. But when I tell you I got that diploma, it got mailed, I went up to my mom and said, this is yours. This is not mine. This is not mine. This is yours. Yes. You can have it. Thank you so much for everything. I can get everything I need with it. I've not seen my diploma since. And I did not want to walk across the stage because I told her, I was like, we're not doing it. I was like, most we can do. I did a photo shoot with my homie. I had him come out to DeKalb and take some pictures of me at NIU, and I sent them to my mom for her. And those were just for her.
You were like, okay, mom, this is
did
for
a whole photo shoot, had the red on, you know, the Huskies, NIU, all of it. We did the obligatory spots. I gave her the perfect photo shoot that like I'm sure she wanted to just, you know, be able to show her friends, to be able to like look back at for herself, because this was a sacrifice for her to be able to send me as well. So it was like it was a graduation for both of us, and I knew I could not give her the walk across the stage. I was like, I didn't want to do it when the pandemic wasn't happening. So
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, would he walk across the stage even before that even came into existence?
Not at all.
Speaking of your mom, amazing woman, and your dad, but she is, from all of your stories, I love her. I'm like, I could totally have a glass of wine with her.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people definitely have that same mentality, because my mom is like, she is as focused as me. But like hers is less on the creative side, way more on the academic and like math or like more logistical side of things. So like as fervent and as crazy as I am about creativity and like let's do an idea no one's ever done before, She's that way about logistically doing things. So she's like, oh, it's college, go do it. Like she sees it the same way as how I go, let's shoot a podcast. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it took us a very long time to figure out a language in between those two things. And that was the butting of heads for years. But once I got to college, it was like, nope, I need my mom. Like we gotta work this relationship out because I need somebody to call.
That's it. Oh, that's amazing. No, you do speak the same language, just different dialect.
That's the best way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're saying the same thing. It's almost synonymous. We're just like it's just a different understanding coming off of like one phrase said. And I mean, like, it was the same way, of course, like with my father and things like that. But my father was definitely more on the creative side with me. So he'd definitely be like on my side of the like, take that crazy risk, do that thing that no one's done before. And it's like my mom would be like, okay, let's temper that. How about we make sure bills are paid first? How about we make sure your grades are good in school before you go and work on 3 albums while in college at the same time. Like,
yeah, and you used to have your grandpa cardigan, so you were kind of on.
It's hanging up out there right now. I love my cardigan. I work in my cardigan a lot when it comes to creative stuff. I don't know what it is either.
That's you being in your like I'm in my responsible bag. When you put on that cardigan,
it feels like I'm getting something done. I don't know what it is. That's why it's here. That's why it's here at the studio, because I'll put it on and I'll just edit for hours. Like, I don't know what it is about that cardigan.
That cardigan.
I can't believe you brought that up. That's so random.
Hey, you're like, I cannot believe this woman remembers.
Yes, because it's like it's my huge cardigan. It's like I love to wear it. It feels like I can get things done. I don't know what it is.
It's like they go, Josh is in here with this cardigan. I'm like, it's time to get down to business.
Yep. It's like I'm working today. Like, I don't know what it is.
I know. Josh, what is one thing that you could tell someone that's entering college?
Ooh, entering college.
A piece of advice.
My piece of advice for college, because I am a person who believes that it might not be for everyone, but that does not mean that you should not make the attempt if you did well in a high school setting. And I don't mean well in high school, not like, oh, I get A's in this. If you do well in the setting, you need to try it. Like, and I fought it for a long time because I am good in the setting. I just don't like it. So it's like in the setting of structure, homework, schoolwork, go to class, come back home. I'm great in that structure. It works perfectly for me. I almost treat the studio in a sense of the same way. I wake up, I come here, I do this, I do that. Like, I love the structure of it all. But like, when it comes to the people who are going to college and you're entering it and you don't really know anything, my favorite thing to say is like, hey, figure out every major your college has.
Yes.
Because you don't know what you want to do. You're 18 years old. And guess what? You're going to turn 20 and you're still not going to know what you want to do. So at 18, just pick something that you think is cool, that you think you could probably do for a long time, because you're going to change it. Like, I have a degree in nonprofit management with an emphasis in youth program planning and a minor in geology, I believe. Like, I don't even remember. But like, it's
not geology.
Map making and rocks. I took a lot of classes in it.
I love that.
Why did I do it though? You know, one of those things. But either way, that's my degree in a nutshell. I am currently a studio owner who does podcast and production work. So it could be anything. And then the job that I did when I was working in corporate was data analytics. So it's still, once again, not the thing that I went to college for. So it's like, figure out what the majors are, because you need to like what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Because you might not do it when you get out.
That's true.
So like, it was great. My major being nonprofit management, I helped with the local school board election, and we got 4 new people elected, and we were like running against somebody who was like very bigoted and very not in tune with the area. So it was very cool to help them get elected and do that work, because now I get to carry that with me forever, even though I might not do that work again. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
It's like, find something that's really fulfilling, like in college.
Absolutely. And that again is one of those moral compasses that I love about you, because you move with passion and purpose.
Yeah. It's far better than trying to move with like a monetary mindset. I tried that for a while. Money does not move me, and I wish it did. Like, I wish for my mother's sake it did, so that she could have some like breathing to be like, yo, he's gonna take care of everything. It's so hard for me to move with like money as my goal. Like, it's like if I was just going to college and I was like, well, what degree makes the most money? I could care less, because if I had all the money in the world and I hated what I was doing, I legitimately think that's worse than being poor and loving every second of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to contextualize that as African American people. I definitely think that that's very hard, just because we're taught that like we need the security. Like, money does provide security, and especially being African American in a country like we live in, the security is necessary.
It is.
So like it gets difficult, but at the same time, I look at it as my parents afforded me these different opportunities in the sense of I got the opportunity to not think about my next meal, which a lot of people don't get. I got the opportunity to not think about my housing situation for a lot of high school and most of college because I didn't really have to take care of anything until I moved off campus. Like, and that's when loans stopped taking care of everything. So I had that shelter, and I was like, I want to think from this. I want to live from this, and that's where I can think about the passion. That's where I can be like, oh, I don't need to be money first. I can be passion first because I've been afforded the opportunities to sit in this. So it's like, of course, my bills got to get paid, but like, if I can also be like, okay, but like, what will fulfill my heart after my bills are paid? Yeah, do that. Like,
right, because you can turn your passions into reality. You
100%
into a lifestyle, and that is success.
It is, and it's like the once again, I know I'm speaking from a place of privilege to even get to do it. That's the thing, and I don't take it for granted at any juncture, but I also have to realize I have it and move like I have it. Yeah, it's like I can't move with a scarcity mindset if I don't legitimately live in scarcity at that moment. But when I am in scarcity, move like it's scarce. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it definitely changed some stuff for me, and I'm grateful for my parents for giving me the opportunity to be able to have these thoughts and pursue these crazy things. Because there are things where it's like I could not have imagined some of my friends' situations in college and me. Like how I would literally take half a semester to make an album, and I would legitimately not care about class. Like it would be like, give me the homework, give me the test, I'll do it all. But it would be like, I'm working on music right now, or I'm working on this. Some people didn't have that opportunity. They were like, do you know how much this school is costing me? Like I had a friend who could tell me exactly how much every single class was worth. Wow. Every class, like not what the overall class was. Going to class that day, she would be like, oh no, this right here is costing me $130, and I know that. And that is how she moved through college. You couldn't ask her to do that because she would be like, you're asking me to pay $130 to go hang out with you instead of go to class. And I was like, that's the mindset legit. She operated from. And it was that is legit. But you have to if that's where you're coming from. And I understood that, and I understood that where I was operating from was not the same. So let me try something difficult in my lane.
You know what? That is a good thought too, because you are paying people. When you go to college, you are paying to learn.
Thousands. It does not look like it because they're loans or because it's an IOU technically for later. This is tens of thousands of dollars for an education, which I already think is crazy in and of itself. But it's like when you got the people who are willing to sit down and break it down in math, that's how you know it's serious. Yeah. It's like that's a lot of money. Like,
absolutely. There's this debate going on, and I see it a lot on TikTok, where people are talking about that people don't need an education. And
needing school and needing an education are totally different things.
That's it, right? And
I think everyone needs an education.
Everyone needs education, right? But it's the type of education I think people are talking about. And there are different types of institutions out there to help you. There's trade, there's
a lot of those things have been stigmatized though over time periods, absolutely. Which I think it came a lot with by the time I was going to school, because I look at it from the context of my parents. When my parents were going to school, college was not an option. High school was becoming a standard. So it was becoming a standard for you to finish high school and go into the workforce. Whereas before then, it wasn't even a standard for you to finish high school. Whereas by the time my parents had me and my sister, it was a standard to finish college. Yes. So if that's the new standard, that's the new baseline. And it's like if that's how we're all operating now, you like it then was devaluing things like people go from high school to trade school, or they go from high school to apprenticeship. Now it's like people are going high school to college, and it might not be everyone who needs the education of a college. You might need the education of an apprenticeship. You may need the education of a trade school, or these other options, these alternative options, or even if it comes to like how I'm doing this production stuff, I don't know what this would have looked like in a world of today where like now if somebody said they were not going to college, I could probably offer them in a way some form of small education in the realm of what I'm doing here. Right. But like that's not something that I even saw as a real option when I was doing it. I was on YouTube University for any and everything. It was like I got my real education here that I'm paying for, and then I got this free education on YouTube that I'm really trying to pay the bills off of.
Right, absolutely. And so when I hear that, it's kind of it makes me cringe a little, because then I'm saying, are we taking ourselves, meaning African Americans, out of these professions that needs a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate,
that's going to keep going up too. Right. You're going to need a higher level of degree for the same job,
and then you're complaining that there's not enough doctors that you see that's a reflection of you. There's not enough nurses. We talk about the effects of Black people in healthcare and
Yeah.
how that's affecting us. Medical apartheid. We're talking about so many different things that our future, the youth, you guys need to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And to just say that, hey, education, you do need some form of education regardless of what you're going to be doing, including if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
And I was about to say, that's the thing.
You're
I think
still
a
going to
lot
have
of
to
people
learn something.
a lot of people don't even think about that, because I mean the amount of my degree that I actually use is far larger than I might let on, because the nonprofit degree is a business degree with a bleeding heart, is the best way to put it. Like so essentially I took all the same classes as all the people who are business degree majors. So it's like when we did the studio, or even how I worked in data analytics, was because I had that knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't see how people don't see it as you need an education in some sense. I mean, like if I was not as good with spreadsheets as I am, or like if I was not as good with budgeting or creating the way to sustain this for me to be creative afterwards, I would not be able to do it. So it's like
Yes.
if I didn't go get that part of that education, or if I didn't find it or seek it out, I mean, maybe I would have got it somewhere else. But it's like you need that still. Like we would never have been able to do this had I never learned anything. Because now it's like I can pass it on to the people who may not want to go to college, but like somebody had to get it. Somebody had to learn
had
it.
to get it. Somebody.
And it's crazy to say that you don't need education. That's just a wild statement.
Yeah, it's becoming crazy. I'm gonna stand 10 toes down.
Mm-hmm.
You do need an education. Education is important.
Yes.
But I do understand it's not for everyone for you to go to a 4-year. You
Yes.
don't have to.
You may not need formal education,
right.
but you need education.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I'm like the firm believer in it. Like I mean, the amount of videos I will watch just about one thing that we need to execute on our production team here, where it's like that's me educating myself. Like what are the like what I guess one of the, maybe they're only thinking about education in the sense of school, because when I think about educating or learning, I truthfully think it can happen anywhere.
Absolutely. Switching gears, because this is what's really exciting. It's also something that I noticed about you growing up was your ear to music.
Yes.
Your passion for music.
Love it.
And when you speak about Stevie Wonder in a way and you light up.
Yes, one of my favorite artists on the planet.
Yes, right? How did I remember that? Because
yes, I was about to say, well, I mean, also there were days where I would literally on my lunch break go to the record store in Hyde Park, and I would go buy, it was, I think during the last summer was when I was trying to build out my entire Stevie Wonder collection in vinyl, and I would on my lunch breaks go buy vinyl from the Hyde Park record store. Oh my God, yeah, I love it so much. Like, music is something where I feel no one needs to be speaking the same language for everyone to have the same feeling. And and it's not to sound like sacrilegious or anything like that, but it's like music for me is as universal as some people think religion is, where it's just like, how do you know that feeling, that undescribable inside of you? It's like you can't quantify that. You can't put that into words. I don't know why we all love that, but we do. And my goal is just been eternally to figure out why we do. And I know I'm never going to figure it out. I think that's the fun part. That's the part of the podcast, the cool little videos I make about samples online. They're all just to service the fact that I can go as deep as I want, and we'll never figure out all of this. We will never.
Won't. So it's talking about that, you have created, which I think is fantastic. I think it's just fantastic that you have taken your passion and you have taken your knowledge of music and the background of actually playing an instrument. Yeah. So all of these things, you're putting all of this experience, this education into a podcast called The Miseducation of Music.
Yes.
Tell me the premise behind that.
Wow. Okay. No one ever really asked me questions, so let me try to get that into like an answer format. I do truthfully believe that like none of us are educated properly on music, myself included. And when I was coming up with the podcast, I was reading The Miseducation of a Negro by Carter G. Woodson in college. Yeah, very heavy book.
Yes.
It'll just recontextualize America for you if you're reading it at a transformative time like I was. I was probably like 20. So it's like I'm reading this book, and one of my favorite albums in the world is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, because I love the way she and I mean like it's in 3 acts in my brain, where it's like she talks about how we're miseducated in love, we're miseducated in guidance and teaching, and we're miseducated from a standpoint of like just this like overall love that we show and give to each other in community. So that's what I've always seen as the overarching themes of that.
Wait.
And
That's dope. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say I'm known for diving too deep into that album, but
Okay.
like when I put all that together, in addition to my friends kind of being annoyed with me talking about music as much as I do, we get on Discord every single night, and your friends eventually get tired of you saying, "Hey, do you know what sample that is?" Like, eventually your best friends are like, "Hey, dude, you've been doing this for 10 years. I know what song that is," and I needed another place to put it. And I found out that there were more people on my college campus who were willing to talk about music because they were artists. I had a dorm room studio for the longest time. I took my bed out of my dorm room freshman year, and we made a studio. And my closet was the actual like room where the bed would be, was where our desk was, and the speakers and everything. And I slept on a futon for 2 years of college. And then I got my apartment my junior year, and I was like, we can go even crazier. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Who cares about the room? It's a whole studio now. The entire thing's a studio. Then I bought like my room alone, and then I had an extra room. It was only a studio. I love doing things like that. But then I realized it was because I can't make music, so I love watching other people do it.
Yes.
And like it's the big like those who can't do, like you just get around it and you try to be around it, because like the podcast itself has become this thing of like, I think I found a lane for myself in music without being a musician anymore.
Yeah.
And that it's crazy, but like the entire premise of it was bringing all of those elements of like, I can't make this, so how can I appreciate it? And then how can I go further than appreciating it, but recontextualizing it so other people get it?
Yeah.
Like I realized that first I wanted to talk about the music from a standpoint with a co-host that I had on the show back in the day, and we would just talk about samples. We'd talk about Kanye. We'd rank our favorite albums. I remember people would come out with these lists, top 50 albums of the decade when 2020 was coming around. And I said, do you understand how hard it is to rank a decade's worth of music?
Yeah.
We spent 4 hours and 2 episodes.
It's hard.
4 hours and 2 episodes just to prove to people that you can't do this on Instagram. People would put up a little Instagram list, and I would be like, this is why I can prove your entire list is crazy, because you're only thinking, like, your list starts at 2015, and I can tell you why. Or your list starts at 2012, and I can tell you why. So we did in 4-hour episode. It was the coolest thing to me. No one ever listened, but it was the coolest thing to me that we could break it down like that and show people something different. And then one day, a friend was like, hey, can I come on your show? And he was an artist. And I was like, how about I interview you? And that changed the entire thing of the show. Now the show is only an interview show. Like, so I mean, like, I mean, that's like the short of it, but like, that's kind of just how it like came up into what it is now, because now it's like, it went from miseducating people about what I think or my standpoint on music versus what the popular opinion is, to now I want to I want to educate you about the people who are sitting on the couch next to me now, because most people, it's their first interview. And I love that. Like, I want to be your first interview. I don't want to grow past this. I'm not trying to become Breakfast Club. I'm not trying to become the best podcast you ever heard of. I want to be the one where, no, this was your first interview. You are nervous. You're sitting on the couch, and you got the first person who was interested enough in you to say,
I love that.
I love your music, and I want to know what's in your head about your music. And like, it's something that I feel like it's invaluable. Like, who else cares that much? Because when I was managing artists, it would be people who were like $100 to do a blog post. You haven't even listened to the song. You $100 for you to post this song up, but you didn't listen to it. Where I'm like, I'd only have people on if I heard their music, if I liked it, if I had a thoughtful or insightful question to ask. And the second we get there, now we're shooting an episode. And I mean, it's crazy because like Austin is here all the time for the episodes, and he hears me ask a question yesterday where it was obviously a bait question, because I put these in on purpose so that people can shout out their friends. Where it's like, okay, oh, you keep talking about your team, you keep talking about how much you like love working with these people and these people. Can you just shout out a couple people right now?
Yeah.
And when you see someone's face when they get to give the credit that they deserve to their friends,
they can't,
or when their friends are at home and they are like watching an episode with their homie and they might hear their name, I'm like, those are the moments I want to create. Like that's the whole show is based around those moments. It's not based around, can I get the clickbait part or what's the best clip? It's based around, can I make you feel good about what you did and shout out your team in the process so you all know that you're working right? Because once you know you're working right, y'all keep going. Like, it's so beautiful. Time over time, I'm getting people back on the show now. This started in 2019. So now it's like, we're 4 years in. It's crazy. I don't know. This is probably the most long-winded answer. But like,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I never thought about the Miseducation like that. And look, she's been riding off that album.
She has been.
Till this day.
Yes. I mean, I went and saw the anniversary. She was only 45 minutes late. The stage.
No, that was good.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a given. We all know it. But it's also from the standpoint of I never think about it from the performer themselves. Like, I'm not one to big up the performer unless the art was what I bigged up first. So the art of Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is what really stands out to me.
Yeah.
And that just, I don't know, transformed my life in a way to the point where it's like, now I really can't deny that it transformed my life, because Miseducation of Music is why we're sitting here right now. Like,
Well, I really like the name. When I saw the Miseducation, I
the
knew
best
where
name
that was
I've had. Don't think I'm gonna get a better one.
I really like that. So where do you see Miseducation a year from now?
A year from now, I want to make sure that we're still interviewing still interviewing the people that we're interviewing on the sense of like, I don't care if you got 5 views or 5 million. Come on my show. Like, I want it to still have that. I don't want there to be any barrier. That's a big thing for me. Like, there should never be a barrier. You should be able to send a DM to the Miseducation of Music, and if not, hear something back. Like, at least you know that, like, if you send to them, we'll see it type thing. Yeah. So, like, I love that, and I want it to be one of those things where it's just, like, you can reach out, and it might not be, like, a quick response or anything, but, like, you'll get seen because we listen to everything that comes through. Like, and that's a big thing here because it's just, like, why not? You're deserving of it. You're putting in the work. You found me.
Absolutely.
So that's a big thing there. And then in addition to that, the one critique that I've always had for the show, that I get for the show all the time, that I tell you I'm trying to fix, and I think I finally got it. I want more female representation on the show. But I also understood, and this maybe this is too high level, and cut it out if you want to cut it out. But it's like I understood that it is very like I'm a 6-foot black dude who is like, hey, woman who's an artist, come record an episode with me for 2 hours alone. And I get that that has like different connotations with it, and it can be a little creepy in different senses. So I've tried to create like different things in the sense of like that's why I don't do episodes in my house, because I don't want anyone to feel out of place or anyone to feel creepy, myself included. Like and then like I also like now that we have this space that we can have and we can use that like it is outside of like an extra entity space or something like that. I want the guest to feel comfortable enough to come on the show, and I think that was something really big in establishing. And then now it's about reaching out. So like I've been super big on trying to get that. So hopefully the goal is to elevate the percentages here, because right now I'd argue we're probably like 85% dudes, and I don't want that anymore. I have enough of that perspective. Like that perspective's been gotten, and it's like let's get the perspective from the other side. There are so many amazing women artists in the city, and I've just been compiling a list ever since like I knew we were going to get this space, because I was like that's just super big for me. But that's amazing. Like that's in a year from now, that's the big things. And once again, it's like you can cut the part out if you want to, but it's like that's the part that like I think about consistently.
No, you're right about that, because you know, for me, I still want to be a part of the youth life, you know, and sometimes I have to think about that. Who is this lady? You know, when you think about it, sometimes people don't know you. Well, they don't know you. They're just looking at the persona on social media. But yeah, I welcome for teenagers to, you know, follow me, but I may not follow them back because they are a teenager. But yeah, if they need inspiration or anything like that, for sure. Like I'm here. Like I think the youth, I think teens still rock, regardless of all
teens
the
rule
other.
the world, and when people realize that, it's game over. Like our opinions don't matter after you turn 18. I really wish you got that. Like I really wish more people understood. It's like the market that everything is advertised for is pretty much 12 to 17.
Yeah.
Like those are the people who make the decisions. Those are the people that like we're pretty much catering to in this world. Yeah. No one really notices it though, because we live in an ad world, and it's like, those ads are for them. They're not for you. They're not for my grown self. Like
it is.
Yeah.
Because your moral compass is almost solidified by 17.
Exactly. And they're trying to get people before then. They're trying to get people, and they're also trying to get people who have their parents' credit cards. Like that's the advertisements are going for people who are spending money that's not their own. And that's why I'm just like, what? How do y'all not understand? Like y'all need to keep a finger to the pulse of what's happening now, because that's the important thing.
It is. And getting back to the Miseducation, hopefully they'll be able to see this and they get educated about the music, because a lot of people, you know, you start becoming a dinosaur. They don't know. They don't know about
fear. It's fear.
They're like, who's Stevie Wonder? You just
not even that. It's like I'm afraid of the day where I listen to a new artist in the city and I go, what is this? Or what is this genre? I'm like, does it happen at an age? Maybe this is just an existential thing that I shouldn't have.
To me now.
But it's like, I'm just like, oh, when does it happen where I just go, ooh, what's that? Because I mean, like, my parents definitely have that for some of the tracks. Like, I'll put my parents onto some of the songs from the shows, and they'll be like, oh, that's really good. And then something they'll be like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, what age does that happen? What age does it happen where I'm no longer able to notice, or like, will it happen if I just keep appreciating music the same way?
Yeah. And I'm doing my best. That's why I'm like, Josh, give me that playlist.
Oh yeah.
You hooked me up to Earth Gang.
Yes. Ooh, one of the best bands. Like,
yeah.
Like when I tell you, like there's Outkast, and then it's like this is the children of them. Like this is the children of Outkast. Like, and I mean, I don't like comparing artist to artist, because that's why I don't want to call it a comparison. This is what's birthed from that. This is what you get from people who grow up off of that. Like, and that's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Talking about that, the South have something to say.
Yes. Southern music is popular music.
It is. It is. And by far, Outkast have been so revolutionary when it came to hip hop.
Easily the 1 and 2. Like, for the longest time.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Outkast, Goody Mob. I mean, you're talking about
just organized noise. I mean, Rico Wade on production. Like, we're talking TLC hits. We're talking like everything that came out of there on the Face Records during that time period. That's Rico Wade. That's the Dungeon. Like, oh my God. And then people don't even know that like the Dungeon goes all the way to Future, who's the like most current Dungeon family member.
Oh, I didn't
like
know
Future's
that.
3rd generation Dungeon family.
I didn't
Like,
know
yeah, Big Boy is his uncle or his cousin or something like that. But like he
No.
grew up in there. And 2nd generation would be Killer Mike. 1st generation being Rico Wade, Outkast, Cujo, CeeLo, all of them.
I have a few Killer Mike, Run the Jewels, but I do like this newer album.
Yes, that was one of my top played albums of the year. Just hearing Scientists and Engineers, I was like, the whole album's gonna be good. I knew it right off of that.
He came out on the first track. I was like, what did
different.
we just do to ourselves?
He is different. Killer Mike is so good when it comes to just using the pen to say something. And I mean, like, as you said, the South has something to say. It's been prevailing for the last, I don't know, was that 30 years ago now? That was almost 30 years ago when they said that on the 95 Source Awards.
Sure did.
And it is so real. Like, it's like
so real.
Genuinely, like, the South came out, like, we're talking Migos is like that was radio hit music for 5 years.
I didn't get into Migos until like I was driving down to North Carolina from here, and I put on the Culture too.
Yeah, okay, that's the right album. That's the right album.
And
honestly.
I was like, what?
You're like, okay, I see what y'all doing.
I went straight up and just like, okay, I drove this far. I was like, okay, I can. This is my.
I've noticed, and I say this a lot to like my friends too. If you listen to an entire album and you don't get one song from it, that person shouldn't be making music. But like
That's
9
true.
times out of 10, that's not gonna happen. Like if you really just put yourself into an album, you're gonna find something you like on there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know for Killer Mike that killed Jill with Big Boy. I was just
yes. That was on Big Boy's Boomverse album. Oh my God, because he had All Night on there too, which was such a good track. And just him and Sleepy Brown are just a duo.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Talk about like, Andre said, I'm going to retire. Big Boy said, I'm going to keep going. And Big Boy, like they both had good careers based off. That's how you know you're good at music. Oh.
I did go to their last tour of the concert. I did
Oh,
that.
was that when they were doing all the festivals with the
I was
jumpsuits?
in Charlotte. Oh, it was fantastic. LL,
Yes.
you know, and talking about that, it's so crazy. Stevie Wonder's your person.
Yes.
And I was heavily influenced by hip hop because that's when African Bambaataa came out. I think I was like 4 or 5 when I first listened to,
definitely.
and I'm like, but I resonate with hip hop, the very first generation, African Bambaataa, LL, Kumo D.
Oh, definitely. Run
Melly
DMC,
Mel,
down the
Run
line.
DMC, all
Grandmaster
of them.
Flash. Like,
Grandmaster
come on.
Flash, and then that Slick Rick.
First Storyteller. That's the real.
Oh
that's the real
my
right there.
God.
Children's Story is one of the best rap songs in the world. And if people don't think
Yes.
that, it's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yes. And so from there, I would chronicle artists that kind of followed that path from Slick Rick was Nas. And then that
Nas to
Doggy,
Cole.
that Doggy Style album
Mm-hmm.
was one of my best.
I was about to
It
say,
was-
but then back to Slick Rick. So we have Snoop Dogg on that album doing Children's Story in its completion, like as a sample.
Absolutely.
And that's an homage to what 15 years prior. Like these people laid such groundwork in those early days that we're still using it right now.
Yes.
And I wish people got that. I'm like, ooh, like hip hop moves quick. Don't get me
It
wrong.
moves quick.
But they go back. You go back for the greats.
You
Like,
do.
oh man, that's the best
do.
part about it. And I mean, I think a lot of people think that hip hop is probably like my base because I feel
No,
like
it's not.
you know me a little bit better, but like it's like a lot of people think that because I do interview a lot of rappers and I'm always around a lot of rappers in the city. But I'm like, no. I barely listened to rap in like high school. Like I was listening to classical.
Josh, bringing us back to hip hop, and that wasn't your first. I kind of always knew that you have Such a good ear.
Yeah, it comes from that classical. Listening to
Yes.
classical music changes what you hear in music.
Ah,
Like I don't hear the same parts. I know I don't as other people, just because I was listening
You
to so much classical and I played tuba as my main instrument. So it's bass. So it's like I hear a lot of notes that I know are just like those are the ones that are made to like make you groove. There's the ones that like just supposed to sit on your soul. And I'm like, no, that's the melody to me. Like I love just hearing those amazing bass lines. Like, oh my God, if you think about Electric Relaxation by Tribe Called Quest, which became Forbidden Fruit by J. Cole, that bass
yes.
line is everything. Like the
Yes.
doom.
That's one of
It's
my
like,
favorites. Midnight Marauders.
yes, that album is so amazing.
I like the album cover too.
Yes, and that
We-
ended up being the theme song for the Wayne's show, the first season. It was the first season theme.
You're right.
Before they switched to the We're Brothers. Yep.
Yeah. Oh
It
my
was
goodness.
It was the Electric Relaxation.
My
Because that song is so good. That bass line is everything. But yeah, that's why it's like
Yes.
listening to classical changes your ear.
Yes. And they have a jazz influence, and I kind of went into that direction with hip hop, listening to Tribe, and Black Thought is my absolute number one. So I am going to get into some top fives to ask you about your top five musicians of different genres, because it's so many. But before we go into that, tell me something about what is the community vessel of this Miseducation podcast studio?
Awesome. I am so glad you asked that. So it's even more of a vessel than the Miseducation of Music. So that's why like we didn't even like name it after a specific podcast. Like we don't actually like we might end up changing the like overall name for the studio. It's literally just our initials right now because we want it to be such a resource. So I am super big on, and I mean like this, it bites me in the butt so many times. I'm super big on let's get the art out and let's talk money later. And it sometimes it's to my detriment, but it's so much better because I feel like when the art is uninhibited, you create so much better. So that's why a big pillar of just this studio is we'll work with your budget. Like, what's your budget?
Yeah.
Because if you want it, I know you're gonna come in here and use that time properly.
Yeah.
Like, and if you can't do that, let me know because all you gotta do is let me know. Don't stop your art because you can't afford your art. Because what does that even mean? So that's super big on just what the studio is, in my opinion. And then on top of that, it's providing stuff that people think they can't get yet. You think you have to get to another level to get it, and I'm like, no. You have the resources here in your community.
Yeah.
If you know me, if you know anyone in the studio, if you can get access to this, it's here for you.
Yeah.
We're doing comedy specials for people who never thought that they'd be able to have a 30-minute, hour-long comedy special.
I like it.
And we're cutting them, we're recording them, we're editing them for them.
Yes.
So it's like, what? Like, these are people who are like, I didn't think I'd get there till Netflix. And it's like, no, you can get there right now. We can make yours today. And then we got artists that like love Tiny Desk. But it's like, they're like, if I could do Tiny Desk, I do it in a different way. And I do it like this. Okay, cool. We just did a shoot with somebody named Teddy, amazing artist, where we came up with just the craziest thing you can come up with in his head. And we made it happen. And that's awesome because we can do all of this at a reasonable price. We charge you what it costs to do it. We didn't try to line our pockets with some extra nothing. Like we did a live stream for a concert that was here in the city. It was Chicago. It was Jersey and Chicago. So they had Jersey artists, a whole Jersey bill from New Jersey in Chicago.
I love that.
I hit up the guy who was over it, and I was like, have you all ever thought about live streaming one of your concerts? Like selling tickets online or just having a live stream link. I was like, you all have a show where most of the fan bases are going to be in another state. Let's do it. And that's it. That was the whole, like, that was the message. It wasn't do you have enough money to do this? Do you want to try this? No, you have this. We can do this. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
And I feel like that's how a lot of my relationships have started off. That's how I've made it to this point where like people can come in and do things. I mean, once again, we bring up Austin because he's here, but it's like one of the things where it's like he has an amazing show that I love to watch. And the fact that I now have a space that he can come record that show in means that I selfishly get to see that show more.
Yeah.
So it's like I love that aspect of community. I'm not only being able to prop up the stuff that I'm creating, but like it's something that I like from a creator. I can help him with like what?
Yeah.
This is something I could only have dreamed of in college when I was doing this or when I needed this, when I needed a space to go shoot something or when I had a crazy idea that I didn't have enough money to execute. I dreamed about this. So it's like, why not be that thing? Like it's okay that I didn't get it, but I can provide it now. So that's the whole community basis behind this. It's rooted in that. Like that's once again, that's that change of major. That's that me coming to the museum and working again. I want to help people. And I mean, like, it's something where it's in me. So it's just like, this is the only way it's going to happen.
I love that. You are being the change you want to see.
Being the change I needed in the past is the way I'm looking at it.
I love that. And I'm so excited that you've allowed me to come here
Yes.
to the studio. Hopefully, we will see more of me here. This
100%.
is amazing.
If whenever you need it. Once again, the resource is here.
Yes.
That's the key. The key is just the resource is here.
Mhm.
Like, it's like if you can think of something else to do with it, something cooler to do with it, do it. But like, it's here. Austin was literally hanging up fabric in the other room, shooting through doorways with cameras. Do whatever you want in here. That's what it's for, because I didn't have one of those. I had my apartment and I had that extra bedroom after I upgraded from not having a bed, you know? So it's like, if I could give you more than that, let's go ahead and do this.
Let's do it. I feel like I'm like, let's do it. Yeah.
That's how it is though. I mean, like, I feel like I give off that energy to people where it's like people like will tell me after they talk to me, they're like, I need to go create something. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to inspire you like that or rile you up. But it's like, that's really how I feel all day, every day. I'm just like, we can do more. We can do more. Or like somebody will hit me up and be like, can you do this? And my answer has never once been no. Because why would I say no? Like, what? Have we tried it? If we haven't tried it, I can't tell you no.
Right.
That's my premise with it. So yeah.
I like that. And it's interesting and it makes life more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And things are going to always come back good to you.
I hope. Because I'm putting out a lot into the world.
Mm-hmm. And I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put your information about the podcast.
Definitely.
And I've actually started talking to people and like, oh yeah, Josh has a studio. You should go down. So
exactly. That's literally what it's here for, though. It's almost like I want to shout it from the rooftops, because it's like, look, do you have a creative idea? Have you been trying to get it off for a while? Like, the best part was telling my older cousins. My older cousins are also like my siblings. I grew up with like a lot of older cousins as well as my sister. And when they were all like, oh yeah, I got this idea for this. I got this idea for this. And then I got to be the little cousin in the group chat and go, I got the studio. You all can come shoot it. You don't understand.
Flex.
The feeling. I don't even want to call it a flex. It felt rewarding. It felt so cool, because it was like, little cuz is doing something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just, it's so cool. It's so cool.
That is so sweet. I know I enjoyed looking at all the pictures, and I'm like, that. And then you have your nephew.
Yep. Oh, man.
Before we get into building relationships, because you are the best at it, to round out the miseducation of music, you're going to be bringing on a new person onto your...
Yes, we can talk about that, because that has something to do with all of this here. So I have not had a co-host on the show since 2020. I've been running the show alone, just doing it as straight interview format. My co-host had moved to Houston back in the day, so it was just like not realistic to kind of keep the show going and everything. So I kept the show going by just doing interviews and doing it myself. And I always was just like, if there's someone else who's getting added, one has to be a female perspective, and two, it has to be black female perspective. Because that's just how I rock here. Like this, the Miseducation of Music is first and foremost a black publication. That's just real life. We try to amplify as many voices in the city as we can. There are so many artists here. I can't, like, if you saw my spreadsheet of people who I want on the show who have never had one episode, it's crazy. Because I'm like, there's that many people creating. Like, oh my God. But like, back to the co-host of it all. I'm now like getting to the point where like I have a studio so I can record on more than just one little day, where I'm renting space from someone else. I was like, I need something to help with the workload of it and the conversation of it all. And my first and only thought was someone who I worked with at the museum under you. It was Taylor. And Taylor is just this person where, if you've never seen like her TEDx talk, it's just like her ability.
She was on TED Talk.
Her ability to command a room with speech, but then not only that, her ability to conversationally talk with people, I've always admired. Like I've always admired the interest she can give you when speaking to you, and the thoughtfulness of a question. And I mean, like, these are things that I've now shared with her, but like I was telling her, like when I first reached out, I was like, hey, if you want to do this, this might be crazy. And then she was like, I would love to do this. I was like, okay, cool. You were the only person I was asking. There was no one else on the docket. I really just like, and I was telling her the things that like I enjoyed about her and that I saw as something that could assist with what I'm doing here. So that just became so cool to loop back. Like I love looping back for museum people. Like that's my favorite thing in the world. Like if we're gonna go back, like let's go back for the people who I know can work and I know can get it done. And those 9 times out of 10 will be people from the museums.
You know why that's really important? Because you guys were a bunch of teenagers that volunteered your time on a weekend. And
for people like Taylor, they were also doing weekdays because they did Tesla, they did all of
Tesla,
those.
yes.
See, that's what I mean by
Yes.
I could have been better back in the day, because I feel like I
You
should
could have
have
been
done
on.
it,
You could
but
have
there
been
was
on
no way y'all was gonna get
Tesla.
me on a Wednesday. There was, and I
But
can't
I try to
imagine my
make
high
you.
school self coming back up there on a Wednesday. Oh, I felt like I was.
I wanted you on there.
I should have. I should have. It's one of the things that I definitely look back on, and I'm like, I should have just done it. Like I wanted to, but it was something where it was like I didn't want extra time.
I know. You're like, I got a
Time seems so valuable when you're a child, and it's
Time
like,
is valuable.
it is, but it's like in the same sense of like it seems valuable to be doing things that don't matter when you're a high schooler sometimes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is a word.
Yeah. It's like that really did not matter. Like I would have traded any of those random Wednesday nights for rather, be on like actual, Tesla doing cool stuff. Like
Yeah.
I used to watch all of them. It would just be so cool.
Oh my God. So I really look forward to you and Taylor's collaboration. It's going to be super amazing. I want to jump into the building relationships
Definitely.
because I think you do a very good job of that.
A lot of people say that. I mean, I guess, but like
You build relationships like I do,
mhm.
you know.
It's like a lot of people do feel that like we've built some relationship together. And I'm always like, I think that I truthfully see you, and I mean, if that builds a relationship, I'm here for it. Like I will never deny anyone like a chance to build something, or I won't like try not to build something with someone. But sometimes I'm genuinely just like, no, I have an interest in you, and like that interest does build an actual like relationship with that person. Just because like not a lot of people will openly say that to people.
Yeah.
Is what I'm seeing out
Yeah.
here in the
Yeah.
streets. Like people don't appreciate their friends sometimes. Like you don't just tell your friends you
Yeah.
love them or thank you for something. Like
They don't. What I mean too by the building relationships is that you take the friendships that you have and you go deeper.
definitely.
And that's something now that I have a little one, I'm like, I have to continue to
Yep.
to cultivate the relationships that I have, but sometimes it's hard for me to bring in someone else because I do know that I'm a relationship builder and I have to build time in with that person. So, how's the relationship with your family and your family, your mom, dad,
Yes.
sister?
Okay, so I'm glad you say that, because so how you said about the deep friendships and then my family, I am really big on found family, because that's something my parents were really into. I'm talking like a lot of my aunts and uncles are not blood related to me in any way. But when I tell you that like I love them nonetheless, like that showed me that like you can in a sense pick family. Like you obviously can't pick the ones you already got, but you can add family. And that, so when I hear family, it does immediately make me think of my close friends. I am a person who I got like 5, 6 really close friends. I'm talking, we've been rocking with each other since 13, some people 10. Like, it's like we've known each other our whole lives. Like, I don't know a life without them. So, like, my friend Ryan is like my brother. Like, I mean, I like him, like my sister, same level of love type thing. And it's just, it's so awesome to have them in my life right now. When I think about like my friend Bobby, my friend John, Rodrigo, like my sister, my cousin Takara, like my cousin Ronald, those people right there are like, that's my main support system. When I tell you, like, those are the people where it's like, hey, life is hitting the fan. I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't know how much I needed them until probably my mid-20s. Like, that is when the relationships really, really started to build. So my sister, once I got to college, was a big one. That was like, okay, sis, I need you. Like, it was like, hey, how did you get through this? I need to get through this. A lot of us like starting to have real conversations that weren't little brother, little sister, but like, hey, I think we're friends,
Yeah.
So that happened a lot during college, and that kind of fostered the relationship for me to do the same with my cousin Takara, who's also like a sister to me, and my cousin Ronald. So that all came together in like college. And then like kind of towards the end of that time, I was noticing that like I wasn't making a lot of like long lasting relationships in college because I was so reliant on my friends back home. Like, I would kind of just always talk to them or always be in communication with them, because I wasn't like, I didn't plan on staying around. I wasn't trying to make no close connections in college. I was actively trying to drop out. So it was like one of those things where it was like you get to your end of like your 4 years and you're like, wait, okay, hold on, I got some people that I actually like around here. And I think that adding those friends in that, like, it was probably like my 4th year going into that 5th year that I started adding them as like real friends, where it was like, I want to check up on you. I want to see how you're doing. I want to actually like foster these relationships.
Yeah.
I then realized that I needed to move my closer friends to a family perspective, because they weren't just friends. Now that I have a reference of what a friend is somebody who I met 3 years ago and we're just close and we make music. That's a friend. But these are the people who, I'm talking like, I had a heart attack in college. Like, these are people that I texted immediately. Like, these are people who were on the phone with me in the hospital. These are people who were checking in on me, who were coming up to like DeKalb to actually like see me physically. Like, that's family. So like those relationships and building that over the course of all that time, like led to me then like getting into my 20s where I am now and pursuing all this craziness. You need a support system at this point.
You do.
Like if you don't have somebody who you can call on the phone and say, hey, I'm doing something completely insane and I think my brain's breaking and I want to just go back to a regular job. Like you need somebody who's going to be like, dude, I believe in you. Or like, hey, like I love you and you're doing fine. Because like those moments are so real when you get to like I've legitimately been paying my bills off creativity. That is wild. I did not think it was possible. If you would have told me 2-3 years ago, I would have said that's crazy. You got to have a real job because what you gonna do? And it's like now I'm sincerely on the other side of it, and the relationships were so important. Like if I did not do that groundwork, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, that's how a lot of great businesses are built and stick around from creativity.
Because like it's people who actually care.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's interesting that you say that. I remember when you had that episode and you told me you were on the couch and you called your mom.
Yep.
Can you believe I remember that?
Yes. I mean, that
You
is
called
exactly
your
what
mom,
happened. I remember
and you
too.
said you were checking your
I checked my pulse. Yeah. I was like checking my pulse and I was like, hey mom, like my heart's like beating weird.
Yes.
And she, oh my God, I love my mother to death because she kept me so calm on the phone. She knew what was happening the whole time. Because I'm describing this to her and I'm just like saying this, like left side's hurting, arm's a little numb. She's like, call an ambulance really quick, keep me on the line. I'm like, okay, cool. She's like, just go get it checked out, nothing major. I get on the ambulance, I get into the vehicle, they hook me up to the EKG, and I've never heard somebody like bang on a glass of an ambulance, like an immediate, like emergency, like when you turn the lights on and go. And like he bangs on the glass, I hand the phone to him and I pass out. Like, and it was just like game over. And I was just like, oh, shout out to my mom. If she did not tell me to do any of that, I was like, I don't know what would have happened. And I remember like waking my roommate up and being like, this is freshman year of college. We've known each other for 6 months. And I'm just like, hey bro, about to get on the ambulance real quick. Just want to let you know. So, you know, I'm not going to be here when you wake up. And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm probably fine. Go back to sleep. And
you're having,
oh my God, I'm having a heart attack during all of this. Like,
wow.
It was crazy. This is insane.
Was. And I was nervous when you told me that.
Reasonable.
I'm like, Josh, why didn't you tell me? But
there's just a lot going on. And I mean, like, those are things that, like, it recontextualizes, like, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what matters? Like, it's like, what am I doing? Like, it's like, ooh, I had such an existential crisis after that hospital trip where I'm just like, ooh, I need to find out what I'm doing. That's how I even started in all the creative stuff. Like, that was when it was like creative first, everything else second. Like school can take a second seat if you can still do it. So it was like maintain your grades because it's in second seat. Because first seat's got to be something you love. Because it's like your whole life flashing before your eyes. You're like, it's got to be something I love. Like it's whew, like.
So that brought
night
in a
before I'm doing
perspective.
homework. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like what? It's like what? I was doing homework. What if that was the call for it all? And it's like I was doing homework. I wasn't making a song. I wasn't hanging with the friends. It's like I was doing homework. Oh my God. It's like things that just like you can't get out of your brain while you're in a hospital. And like people are asking you serious questions in life and you're just saying things like, I was doing homework. And they're just like, what do you mean? It's like, I'm sorry. I'm just existential right now.
You're like pissed that you were doing homework.
I'm like mad that I was doing homework.
Yeah. When you said that, it reminds me of AI when he's like, practice. We're talking about practice.
Literally. No. That's how it feels in those moments where you're just like, what? Like, seriously? Like, that's what I'm doing? Like,
oh my goodness. I like how that was, you know, you can pinpoint the turning point where you switched it around and said, okay, hey, life is not promised. Life is too short. I need to get serious. I need to get more passionate, even more passionate than what you are. I mean, super crazy.
It's not like I wasn't doing anything before, but
yes, like you weren't doing anything before, but I'm glad everything is all better. And
I am too. Like, hey, you know, crazy episode.
That good support system of yours.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it really, and back to relationships, like that it's so needed when you have real life moments. And I'm one of those people where when things are going good, I can never think of things bad happening.
Mm-hmm.
So when the bad things happen, you're technically not prepared. But when you realize you've been fostering relationships and you've been checking in on people or you've just been a decent person, like when you have your time of need, people are there. And like it almost blows you away because you're just like, whoa, you showed up. Or like, whoa, you called? Like, and you're just like, oh, I gotta do more of that. Like, and it really makes you think like, oh, it matters to be a good person.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Josh. There are teenagers and there are college students out there that are like, they just feel like the world is, I think it can be a universal thing, but I see more of, where people are celebrating not talking to someone and breaking off contact, and I just
Yeah.
need myself, when actually, you
It's
need
deeper.
someone,
Yeah.
it's deeper. What kind of advice would you give someone,
Mhm.
when it comes to that? What could we say to them to let them know that building relationships is important,
Well, I mean, like, I'm an
or
introvert.
relationship?
I'm very introverted, and a lot of people don't even believe it or see it in me because when I'm outside, I'm outside. Like, I'm
You
very good at
outside.
turning it on. Like, that's why there is Josh and there's J Treb, because
Mhm.
they need personas for me to be able to delineate and like be outside and appreciate people more in a sense. But when it comes to even my introvertedness, when I say I need to not talk to people, or I need to be inside, or like I'm not talking to nobody today, that means nobody knew. That does not mean not gonna talk to the homies. Like my
Yeah.
homie, like I'm not gonna like no. That means I'm probably on the video game with them all day. If I say that I'm not gonna talk to nobody, so it's like I feel like a lot of people may, and I mean this could be on people like me who also phrase it incorrectly, because I am phrasing incorrectly when I say that. So then maybe someone else hears what I'm saying there, and then they want to glorify that. But it's like from the standpoint of like it's not really that much of a celebration in my opinion to not speak to anyone for a
Mhm.
full day, as much as it is for me when it comes to like I just need to be in a space where I'm not judged. And I think that
Yeah.
if you can find that space, then it's better than those alone things or celebrating those being alone
Yeah.
things. Find people where you can be so much yourself that it feels like you're alone. I guess that's the
Yeah.
real statement or takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's how I feel when I'm with my friends. Like I feel like I am acting as if I'm alone. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I would do if no one else was. I'm talking, I'm so myself. Like I could be on the phone with them, painting my nails. I'm not thinking about nothing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like those things
Mhm.
do creep up in different ways when you're like talking to other people who may not like. I don't know. It's weird because like there's pieces of myself I'm willing to give in different places, and with
Mhm.
my friends, I'll give you all of it. So it's like those people you gotta find you some people. I guess is the best way to
Yeah.
put it.
You do. You have to find.
It's like
some
you
people.
can't, even if you are introverted. Like I'm like sincerely, like me and my sister both. But let either of us call each other. We on the phone for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because yes, you understand my introvertedness. I understand your introvertedness. We ain't going into no topics nobody want to talk about. We're just chopping it up. And it's like if once you find those people who you can do that with, it's game over.
Yeah. I really do. I really do think people need to hear more of that, because what I'm hearing is cut everybody off, and I'm just like, you need someone. That's
It's like,
why.
look, you shouldn't have too many people around you, but at the
Yeah.
same time, cutting people off is crazy because I feel like you're not picking the right people if you got to cut everybody off.
Yeah.
Like I'm like when I sincerely get the same friends, like same friends since grammar school. Like we've
Yeah.
been rocking together that long because we understand how we're gonna change.
Mhm.
And then it's like I'm gonna love you through that. Like I don't even know what the next stage is gonna look like, but I know you're gonna change and I'm gonna be there.
Absolutely.
But it's like a lot of people don't have that about them, and then they're willing to cut you off right at your changing
Yeah.
periods. Where it's like, nah, man, I guarantee you, my friends can give you like the times of me being just the worst person. Where they're like, dude, he was a bad person. I
Yeah.
hated him during that, but they never left my side.
Yeah, because
So it's like-
your relationship will test you. A friendship is a
Literally.
relationship.
Literally,
Yeah.
it is, and I think enough people, like a lot of people don't really think about it like
A
that.
friendship is a relationship.
Where I'm like, and that's also why like I'm a person where it's like I might not be in a lot of like relationships like that are romantic, but I am all like
You got a
the
lot of relationships.
The forefront of my life is those familial and friend relationships. Like I
Mhm.
think about those the way I feel some people think about like their significant others.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's that real for me
Yeah.
though.
Well, I think it's real for me too. Friendships are relationships. I think, and now that as I get older, and I started doing this maybe in my mid-20s, I'm like, I'm spending a lot of time with a lot of people, but I have to dial that back. And this is friendships.
Mhm.
Wh-
Who's pouring in and who's not? like
That's
let's
it.
start getting these lines together.
That's it, right?
Who's trying to build? Like
That's it. And it's good that you say that. It's refreshing. And the reason why I asked you that, because you
Mhm.
are an introvert,
mm.
and I do hear some people go, cut them off. I don't talk to anybody. I'm just good alone.
And you see,
I'm
like I kind of agree with that only in the standpoint of like a new person that doesn't know you.
yeah.
But when you tell me it's been your friend since third grade and they just did this one thing, talk. Like, why was you cutting them off? Yeah, I don't keep no snakes around me. Yada yada. What? What are you talking about? Like they messed up once. You've known them their whole life. Be nice. Like I don't know. Enough people don't give compassion, which I think that like there are some people who are not worthy of it. But I think that like it's for you to make the determination. So snap judgment. That's crazy to me. It's just to be like you don't even deserve to speak about what just happened. Whew, so quick.
So quick, right? Because you're gonna make mistakes, and we should allot for that.
Literally, like I've made so many mistakes as a friend in a relationship, as a son, as a brother. Like, imagine if all of them just for your one mistake said, "I'm cutting you off." That's crazy. Like I feel like you giving
Cancel
grace and getting
on
grace.
your family and friends.
That was wild. I've never even thought about it in that sense. But like honestly, like it's crazy. It's almost like getting canceled by your own people. Where it's just like wow. Like I don't know. I've always seen it as something where it's like. Give learning. Like it's like what like if this is the moment. Like this is why am I not teaching you something different? Or teach me something if I'm the one who's having a disconnect right now.
You're gonna in friendships you're going to have arguments and disagreements, and so that's kind of natural. But I think it's how you bounce back. Sometimes it makes the relationship even stronger. Like, then some people like, I'm not in a relationship. A friendship is a relationship. You are in a relationship.
Got a ship at the end.
Yeah, I got a ship at the end.
A ship on it. It's definitely a relationship.
Oh my goodness. Well, I do want to talk about me and your relationship. Because over a course of a few years, I've, I want to tell you some things that I've learned from you that yeah, because I'm always in a learning phase, right? And I'm a lifelong learner. I'm going to continue to learn.
I'm trying to embody that.
Yeah, because it's interesting. It makes life interesting, and some people stop learning, and I mean, sometimes those people I don't want to kind of be around. Because
because like, why are you not learning?
Right. That's just my little thing. I like to be around lifelong learners, but seeing you grow. And understanding that you were a reminder that students have different priorities at different times.
Yeah.
And you weren't afraid to address that.
Yeah.
What that made me realize as we progress in our relationships, is that I needed to listen even more than what I was listening to.
Interesting.
And it's always good. So you kind of helped me hone in even better on building and listening and becoming more of a sounding board for you and the others.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I feel like you all let me talk crazy up there at the museum sometimes. I feel like you all would listen to me just having the craziest of takes and just be like, okay, I hear you. Now let me give you a response to that. And I would just be like, wow, like I really feel heard, even though like I'd probably like you'd say something that would make me realize what I was saying was crazy, but like you still heard me, and it's so crucial and important that I feel like I don't know how much I was getting that from any external relationships outside of like family. Whereas like when I got to the museum, I knew it was there. Like I knew that like I could be like, hey, this is my gripe because I care about this versus like where maybe like my OGs are caring about this or my friends are caring about this, but it's like, this is what I'm caring about. And you would listen to it. I don't even know. Cause I mean, we talked about it like with the whole caddying thing where it was like, I would literally be calculating like how much money I'm losing on not caddying in there. And I would say that out loud so disrespectfully. And while I'm working for you all, and it was like, but you all would hear me and you would go like, yeah, but like, this is what we offer here. And it's like, oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. Like this was more valuable than me going to make a $200 extra caddying. Like this got me through college, like, and so it's like, it's definitely something that I took away from the relationship was just like the importance of like being heard. Like that's so, it's so interesting that like you were taking it from the listening standpoint. Cause I loved being heard. Like,
I learned so much about you. I mean, and what I also learned, you was a good storyteller too. Just by you talking, I said, wow, he's a good storyteller. I mean, he has all these interesting stories and
a lot has happened in my life.
Yeah, and I look forward to the stories that happened in college. It was so great to see you transition from high school to college. The core of you never changed. Okay, my final question to you, because it's been spectacular. You've done quite a bit in your young adult life.
Yeah.
What advice would you give? What advice would you give to someone that is a teenager or a college student that you're taking in your adult life thus far? So let me
Mhm.
phrase that. So what is a piece of advice that you have heard um, that you're now incorporating in your adult life?
Mm. Ooh. Oh, I'm trying to think because there's a few different things, and it's
Well,
mostly I
you
was
can
gonna say
say
it's
a,
quotes that come to me because a lot of people have
you can
imparted
say
quotes
them.
on me, and I love quotes. So like one quote that comes to mind is something that my band director drilled into us back in high school, and it was, "We are, we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act but a habit." And that is
Mm,
super big to me because like that was something that was stressed to me a lot with playing instruments, and instruments kind of like you have to drill your brain to actually learn instruments. So like
yeah.
he would say like it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect. And it elevates
Mm,
you to a standard because I do think everyone, if you want to get better at it, practice does make better, but practice more so makes permanent. So you need to practice properly. And now I've said so many P words, but like, yeah, it's just
yes.
that is stuck with me so long. So like, that's just a really big quote that like, no matter where I go in life, that it's in the back of my head. It's just that like, you are what you do. So it's like, if you do this at a mid level every time, it's what is it going to be? And then if you do it to the level of what you call perfection, that's what it's going to be. So that's something that I don't know. Like that's like a piece of advice where it's like it's very hard to impart on somebody because I almost don't want to tell you to like work yourself to death. Like like I don't want you to be like, I need to work so much harder because I am what I do. But it's like honestly, it's just like attack a dream. It's like I don't know exactly how it's been phrased to me, but it's just one of those things that like I've heard on different occasions from different people during my like eras of like I'm trying to deny this and I'm trying to work regular jobs. It's like people would say things like, "Yo, don't deny that like this is a dream you have. Like, don't deny that like all you have to do is work." So it's like, why do you keep saying no? Like, there's so many things where like I
Yeah.
could probably have been where I am right now years ahead of where I like years before this. You probably would have been the right time, but like I could have been here
Yeah.
if I had not fought a few different things, or even if I had not like went into the last job that I went into. Like I would have been a year head start on this. This has been the thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Like.
Wow. I like that. You need to practice perfect. You need
Mhm.
to practice as
Practice
if
like it's
it
the like it's the
is
show. Like it's
like
the
it
biggest
is a
thing.
show.
Mhm. Everything I do, it's like the goal is like just do it at that level. Like I
Absolutely.
hate cutting corners, but like I love when we can figure out another way. Like because that's not a cutting corners, that's finding something new. Like,
Yeah, that
but it's like
is.
if you keep going in with that energy every time, like I don't know, it's been working for me. So I mean, like, don't quote me. I guess you can, but like, I don't know. It's like it's working for me as the advice I give somebody else. It's really
Yeah,
like I didn't stop. Like
I like it.
I kept practicing it so that when it was time to go, I was ready.
Right. All right. Well, okay, Josh, it's been fantastic. I'm so glad that we have come back together because it's been three
I was gonna say it's been a
years.
pandemic. It's been a pandemic.
It's been a pandemic.
Like, yeah.
And I've learned so much still.
Mhm.
And can't wait to do even more things
That's what
with
I'm saying. I'm
you.
excited because like it's the fact that we get to talk again, the fact that like I can even help out on this end of things because I'm so appreciative. Like I don't think I understand like for people who don't know, like I was this was not the life I was supposed to be on. I was on the path to go work with you all full time. My
Yeah.
degree was in doing either something exactly like what we were doing or
Yeah.
like going back and just working with y'all. And it's like
Yeah.
the pandemic changed life for
Yeah.
me. Like
Yeah.
I had to rechange goals. So
Yeah.
like I mean, hey, like I'm glad that we just get to come back in any capacity.
Yes. All right. Well, that's catching up with Josh. Yay!
Thank you so much for having me on.
That's fantastic. Oh my God, that was good.